Hello, good evening, Lourdes. Good evening, Sharhi. Thanks for being on time. So let's begin the class with you. This was the topic that I introduced the last class, if you remember, future in the past. We already talked about this. We took a look at the definition, right, related, or first we analyzed this sentence. I was going to study law, but my parents took me out of it, right? It means that this was a plan that you had in that past, right? A future plan that you had, but something happened and you couldn't do it. It happened the same in the second sentence, right? I thought I would move to Paris. It never happened though, right? So both were plans, both were expectations that you had in the past, right? That's the main idea of this topic. That's why it is called future in the past. The usage is always also something that we already read, all right? But it's important for you to have this in mind. So I'm going to ask you to read it again. Please, if you can help me out with this one, Lourdes, that's going to be great.
Okay, when you had a plan, expectation, or something was possible, but because of certain circumstances it couldn't happen, you use the future in the past.
Great. Thank you very much, Lourdes. So once again, this is the most common thing. Later on, you're going to see there's a second concept, a second definition, but most of the time is for things that couldn't happen. All right. So it's for a past plan, for a past expectation, for a past possibility. All right. I was going to be a doctor. I was travel to a past, right? I was going to travel to a past. I was going to whatever you want, right? I was going to be this. I was going to do that, etc., etc. That's the main idea of future in the past. And you have the chance of reading these two ideas, right? These are examples. We're going to learn the structure so that you write examples. But Sharai, let's read these two examples here, please.
Okay. The first one is I was going to have a party, but nobody could come. The next one, she was going to stay at home. However, her friends called her to go out.
Great. Thank you very much. Again, you have future plans in the past, right? That's why you use I was going to have a party. Like in the past, I was going to do this, but nobody could come, so you didn't have a party. She was going to stay at home. However, right, something happened. In this case, her friends called her to go out. So at the end, she didn't stay at home, right? She perhaps went to a party. Okay, that's the idea. Now, this is the second part of the definition. Help me out with this idea, please, Mariana. Let's read this second part of the definition, please.
Okay, it's possible to use the future in the past for plans that happened, but it's not as common as when it didn't happen.
Thank you very much, Mariana. So as I told you, right, 90% of the time is going to be like a plan, expectation, or a possibility that didn't happen. But it's possible to use it for past plans that happened, okay, that were possible. So you have these examples, please. These are not that common. With you, you're going to be working the things that couldn't happen. But it's good that you know that it also can be used in this way. So help me out with these examples, please, Melissa.
Okay, the first one, it says Tom always knew he would be a good student. And the last one is Mary was very happy on Saturday morning. She was going to visit her friends that evening.
Great. Thank you very much, Melissa. So in these two ideas, this future in the past sentences, all right, happened, right? It's like when you tell a story, okay? If you read some books in English, you're going to see that the writers can give you this idea, right? And you're reading on the book, Tom always knew he would be a good student. All right, it's like telling a story. The second one, the same, right? Mary was very happy on Saturday morning. Why? She was going to visit her friends that evening. It's like you are describing what that person was going to do, and that's the reason why Mary was happy. If you see it's like something related to literature, something related to storytelling, right? But that's why it's not that common because, sometimes people don't speak like this. But it's important that you know because you're going to read books also, all right? You're going to be reading books. So you need to know that would and be going to, but not any be going to, was going to, were going to, are future, right, ideas in the past. It means something that happened in this case, all right? We're always talking about past in this topic. Now, don't worry because now you're going to see in detail how to form, all right, how to structure these sentences and these ideas. This is the first one, right? If you realize the first structure to talk about future in the past is was or were going to. Let's see how to use this structure. Please, you're going to help me out with this with me. You can read points number 1 and number 2, please.
This form is used to describe a future plan or intention relative to the time of speaking. This form is often used when the anticipated event did not actually happen.
Great, until that part. Thank you very much, Whitney. So this is what we were talking about, right? So describe a future plan or intention relative to the time of speaking. It means this time this is past. And in this case, you use was going to or were going to with things that didn't happen, right? This is like particular to this tense. Remember, please, you say I, he, she, it was going to, but you say you, we, they were going to, all right? Remember, don't say they was going to, right? Don't say that. You need to be careful, right? When to choose was and when to choose were. You know this rule. This is be in past, and you know how to use this. But in case you don't remember, once again, I, okay, I, he, she, it was going to, and we, you, they were going to. That's important. Now let's read the third point, which is the formula. Please, Sharai, if you can help me with that one.
Okay. It is formed with subject plus was, were, in positive or negative, plus going to, plus base form of the verb, plus complement.
Thank you very much, Sharai. This is important, right? After going to, always the base form of the verb. And you can form any future in the past sentences, right? She was going to be a doctor, right? But something happened. I was going to travel to La Paz, but something happened. He was going to, right, I don't know, get married, but something happened. So that is the idea here, all right? Subject was were, as Sharai said very well, in affirmative or negative form. Going to, the base form of the verb. It is the base form. Run is the base form. Be is the base form, all right? And complement. Now, with that idea, before going to the examples, please, let's go to the file. This is a new file this time. I'm sending the link of this new file. All right, it's in the chat now. Oh, sorry, that's not the one. All right, I'm going to copy it and paste it here. I don't know why it's not letting me. I'm going to try this one more time. But you're going to go to this link, please. And once you are here, all right, now it should work. There you go. Go to your names and let's write 2 sentences with this structure, all right? 2 future in the past sentences using was going to and were going to. Try to use both, all right? You can say I, he, she, it was going to, you, we, they were going to. Try to use with both, all right? One with was, one with were, with that structure. Let's try to do it, please. Remember that it can also be negative, right? I didn't ask you, but you can also write a negative sentence. You can say, for example, I was not going to be a doctor, but my parents convinced me to do it, right? So you were not going to be a doctor, but someone convinced you, right? And now you are a doctor. So it can be the negative, all right? And like the opposite situation.
Teacher, I have a question. When we want to do the sentence in negative with were, it can be weren't.
Yes, correct, Mariana. If it's negative, you can use the contracted way or the uncontracted way. So you can say was not or wasn't, were not or weren't. All right, both are possible.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But remember that you always have to use going to, right? So I wasn't going to, they weren't going to. Great. All right, so I'm going to start checking, right, the examples that I see that are done. I'm going to begin with you this time, Whitney. Let's begin with your 2 examples, please.
Okay, teacher. He was going to complete his work, but he had an appointment, and they were not going to finish their career, but they didn't do their thesis.
All right, now let's analyze. It seems to be great. Now in the second one, I have a question, only in the second one here with me. It says they were not going to finish that career, so this was not going to happen. but they didn't do their thesis, right? It's like they were not going to do it, and this is like supporting that idea. So I wouldn't use but there. So perhaps after but, you need to say like something that is opposite to what we expect, right? So you can say, for example, it can be an idea. They were not going to finish their career, right? But I don't know, right? They decided to be responsible and they finished it. So it happened something contrary to that they were thinking. All right, because in this case, it's like this is something that they were not going to do, and this is also something negative that they didn't do. So they are like working together. Let's try to contrast. All right, only one idea. So let's try to rework the second part. Do you get that idea with me?
Yes.
Okay, good, perfect. And also, if you want to use this word, it's going to be like this, that thesis. All right, the rest of it seems to be great. Thank you very much, Whitney. I'm going now with you. Now I'm going up with you, Sharai, please.
Okay, I was going to study in a military school, but my father doesn't let me go. The next one is they were going to see a movie at the cinema, but for the quarantine, they have to cancel all their plans.
Great, perfect. Thank you very much. Now, in this case, if you see, even this platform, even Google wants to correct this because sometimes it's like your ideas are always going to be in past. It's okay to say this in present because perhaps still today your father doesn't let you go, but most of the times the future in the past sentences are going to have like past ideas and past ideas. That's why they want to correct this idea. All right. So they're going to tell you, I'm sure, to use here didn't, or they want to say won't. What's the difference between won't, all right, and doesn't in this case? Won't has a different meaning because even if I change here, we're not going to use won't. All right. We're going to say this like this. Didn't, sorry. All right. Didn't. Why? Because you're going to work with two past ideas, right? So I was going to study here, but your father, right, didn't let you go. Now we're going to learn to use will because will also can be used for consecutive, all right, refusal ideas, not only for future. That's why perhaps I wanted you to use want over there. But in this case, it's better if we keep the two past ideas. That's the only thing. And also here, if you say for the quarantine, it's like that's your reason, but not your reason in terms of the cause. It's your reason like I'm doing it for you, right? Because I love you, right? That is for when you say for. So it's better to say because of sometimes, right? That's the correction. Because of is reason, but in terms of what is causing that, all right? When you only say for, it's like you are doing something and you're doing it for something. For example, I'm going to the war, right, for Bolivia, for the United States, right, because you support that country, you can say. That's the difference between for and between because of, all right? And the same idea here, right? But because of the quarantine, they have to cancel. No, actually, it's going to be the opposite. This have is going to be past, and this cancel is going to be base form. All right, because this is going to give you the tense, so it's going to be had, and after to you need to use base form. All right, and in that case it's going to be like past. But because of the quarantine, they had to cancel all their plans. Let me know if you have any questions, please, Sharai. Those are details, but they can be important in terms of context. Do you have any questions?
No, teacher, everything is clear.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Let's go now with you, please, Lourdes. Let's read your two sentences.
Okay, she was going to travel to Europe last year, but the quarantine started. and they were going to open a new business, but they didn't have enough money to start it.
Okay, good. Both sentences are following the same ideas, right? A past plan, but something happened, so it was not possible, right? Past, past. They were going to open a new business, but something happened. In this case, they didn't have something. Good. Thank you very much, Lourdes. I have no observations there. Again, it's possible to use present here sometimes, all right? It's possible to use even want, but if you use it in the real and in the correct context, all right? Melissa, let's go with your sentences now, please.
Okay, the first one says, I was going to Tarata tomorrow, but now we can't go out on the weekends. And the second one is, they were going to build a house, but they couldn't afford all the materials.
Okay, it's great. Just one thing, and again, once again, this is not incorrect because if you go to grammar books, you're going to see that past continuous can also be used as future in the past sentences, but they are more specific. In this case, because of Pearson and Melissa, and because of the content we have to use future in the past with be going to. And the rule says that after going to, you need another verb in the base form. So it's going to be, I was going to go to Tarata. All right, so that we have the structure. All right, because it's going to be, it's like saying, right, I'm going to the gym. That's present continuous. But I'm going to go to the gym. That's future will be going to. It's the same here. All right, that's the only detail. So good. I was going to go to Tarata tomorrow, right? You were going to do something, comma, but now you can't. This is one of the cases in which you can use past because the context in the way you are structuring now lets you. So you have two options there, Melissa. You can say, but now we can't go, or you can say, but then we couldn't. All right. You have those two options over there, but both work here because of the context, because this is like a past idea, but it's kind of still there, right? It's still there, but now we can go out on the weekends. Good. They were going to build the house, but they couldn't afford all the materials. Good. Do you have any questions about those details, Melissa? Let me know, please.
In case that I wanted to use couldn't, I had to add then, right?
Yes, instead of now, you can change that to then, or simply don't use any expression. You can delete now, okay? You have two options. You delete now, or you change it by then, all right? But also, you have to give us the idea that this plan was more distant. If you see this is a past plan, but it's kind of near because you're saying tomorrow. So perhaps this morning or yesterday, right? You were planning on going to Tarata tomorrow, Saturday, but something happened. That's why this is still past event, but it's close, it's near. But if you change, for example, this tomorrow, and you say something like this, Melissa, okay? This is just to give you an idea. I was going to go to Tarata last week. So in this case, I wouldn't advise to use now. I would say, I was going to go to Tarata last week, but we couldn't go out, all right, because of something happened. Do you see? If you change the context, you can change that to past, to even future. But in this case, your context is great for this kind of idea. Okay, good. Any other questions or comments, Melissa? Let me know, please. All right, let's go with you, please, Mariana.
Okay, the first is I was going to cook pasta for dinner. And the second is they weren't going to travel to Cancun for the sanitary emergency.
Okay. Now, in this case, it's great, Mariana, because in this example, right, I'm not showing you yet the, not excuses, but the reasons for you not to do that. So it's great. Later on, you're going to see that you can add things like your partners were doing, right? You can say, for example, I was going to cook pasta for dinner, comma, but I changed my mind, right? So I cooked, I don't know, something else. And they were not going to travel to Cancun, so they were not going to do that. But something happened and they did it, right? But right now it's okay because that's what I asked Mariana, so it's perfect. In the next exercise, we're going to add more information, all right? But so far it's great. And
Okay.
let's work with you. Thank you very much. Let's go with you, Luciana. Let's read your two ideas, please.
Okay. The first one is I was going to the concert of my favorite singer last year, but the pandemic started and they were coming to help me decorate my new house, but they don't buy the pencils.
All right, now let's check. You have the great ideas there. We're just going to correct some details, Luciana. So the first thing is that we need the structure. The idea here is great, but remember, we need the structure was or were. You have it, very good. Plus going to, very well. Plus a verb in the base form. And we don't have that verb, right? So that is what is missing. So you need to say, I was going to go to the concert, all right? Now this is future in the past, all right? You were going to go to the concert, right? Of your favorite singer last year, but the pandemic started. Now it's good, all right? So just remember that, Luciana, it's always going to be I plus was were plus going to plus a verb in the base form plus the complement, and all of that is your complement. And even this second part, right? That is great. In this second one, it happens the same. It says they, very good. The verb to be were, very good. Now you need first the expression going to. Going to. Now you need the main verb, but in the base form. All right. So it's going to be like this. They were going to come to help me. All right. They were going to come to help me decorate my new house. That's great. Comma, but they, if you say they don't buy, it's like simple present. And it's like you're saying they never buy pencils. Okay, if you say they don't buy pencils, you're telling me they never buy pencils. But that's not the idea, right? The idea is that they didn't. All right, because once again, these sentences are future in the past. So it's something that didn't happen. And in this case, we cannot use past because again, the context is not ready for, sorry, we cannot use present because the context is not ready for present. As I told you, right? If you use present here, Luciana, it sounds weird. It's like saying they never buy pencils. So it's better to be like more precise and use that past idea. That's why they couldn't help you decorate your new house. Do you have any questions about those little corrections and observations
no,
there?
I only want to ask you, please, can you show one more time so I can take a picture of the slideshow?
Yeah, of
I
course.
was with some problems, so I came into the class a little bit late.
There you
But
go.
thank you.
You can take a picture. Also remember, Luciana, that all these presentations are available for you on Google Classroom, right? So you can go to Google Classroom whenever you want, and you can download my presentations and you have the formula. But right now you can take a picture. There you go. So it's subject plus was or were in affirmative or negative form, plus going to, plus the base form of the verb, plus any complement, right? That's why we say, I was going to be a doctor. I was going to go to, I don't know, La Paz. I was going to study this, and so on and so forth. Do you have the picture, Luciana?
Yes, teacher, thank you.
Okay, there you go. You're welcome. Now let's go to the next part. These are the examples. You're going to compare how you did with these examples. Help me out, please, Lourdes, with the first two examples.
Okay, number one, Mike was going to buy a new shirt, but he couldn't find one. And number two, sorry, I interrupt where are you going to say something?
What are you going to say, right? Good. So Mike was going to do something, but he couldn't do it. Sorry, I interrupted. Were you going to say something? All right. Did you have the plan in mind to say something? Number 3 and number 4, please, Melissa.
Okay, number 3 is I was going to work out, but I decided to watch TV instead. And the 4th one is I forgot she was going to visit us.
Great. Thank you very much. And here there's like a mistake in terms of punctuation. That is great. So the same idea, right? I was going to do something, but something happened. And this is kind of positive, but I forgot she was going to visit us. So you see, the main idea here is that you have subject, she, the verb to be in past, was or were, going to, plus the verb in the base form, visit. And in this case, us is the short complement. Now, let's work with the other structure, would. All right, it's the same. It's the same as was going to, as were going to. But there's a little thing, all right? With would, you need an extra phrase at the beginning if you want to use this as future in the past. Let's read what it says. Help me out with this idea, please, with me. If you can read number 1 and number 2.
Okay, this form suggests an expectation or a possibility, but not necessarily a plan. It is often paired with verbs relating to the subjects, thought, think, suspect, know, hope, in the simple past.
Thank you very much, Whitney. So the first difference, right? You use was going to, were going to describe future plan or intentions in the past. But you're going to use would to describe expectation or possibility in the past. But if you hear me out here, it's going to be the same. If you say, for example, I was going to be a doctor, or I thought I would be a doctor, they are the same. But you're just telling me that if you say I was going to be a doctor, it means that it was a plan that you had in the past. Perhaps you went to some universities to find out, right, the information that you need to study medicine, right? So you were planning to do it. So I was going to be a doctor. It was like a more organized plan. But if you say, I thought I would be a doctor, it's more like an expectation, right? I thought I would be a doctor, but the same as the previous one, but something happened, all right? It's the same, but one of them is considered a past plan, and this one is considered a past expectation. Both are for the past, okay? That it doesn't change. Was going to and would are for past. Now let's read number 3 and 4, please, Sharai, if you can help me with those numbers.
Okay, would is the past tense of will. Format using subject plus think, know, etc. plus subject plus would, affirmative or negative, plus base form of the verb plus complement.
Thank you very much, Sharai. So if you see this is important, all right? If you see this formula, you have to use a phrase. In this case, it's not going to be a phrase. Actually, it's an introductory sentence. You have to say, I thought I would travel to La Paz, but something happened. I knew, right, that you wouldn't do it. It can be like that. But most of the cases, all right, think is going to be the most important verb that you're going to use there, all right? And here it's in present, but you have to conjugate this in past, all right? I'm giving you base form, but you have to conjugate this in past. I thought, I knew, I hoped, I suspected, I would do this. All right? It's the same idea. We're still with future in the past. All right? But you have to use this structure, please. Take this into account. You have two subjects. You have would, you have the base form of the verb and the complement. So please, let's go to the file and let's write two examples with would. Follow the formula, please. And if you have any questions, you can let me know.
Teacher, I have one question.
Yes, tell me, Luciana.
When we use would, use, I'm not sure if you say that the most common verb is think, right?
Yes, like 80% of the time, in these sentences at least, Luciana, like future in the past sentences, think is going to be the most common verb, but in this part of the phrase, okay, so you're going to say, Luciana, something like this. I thought I would travel to La Paz, but something happened, right? She thought that she would, I don't know, become a great, I don't know, musician, but her parents convinced her not to study, right, music, something like that. So it's better if you conjugate think in the first sentence, Luciana. Okay?
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Good. You're welcome. All right. So once again, two sentences, please. Two ideas with that formula. It can be affirmative, it can be negative, and try to use different subjects. I, he, she, it, we, you, they. All right, whichever you want. All right. Also, so that you don't have any confusions here, I'm going to change this directly. Remember that here you have to use, all right, the past form of the verb. Okay, so now it's done.
Teacher, I have a
Yes,
question.
tell me, Mariana. What's your
If I want to say like, I thought I would be, it's okay, like double I.
IL? One more time, double I? Would you say I thought I would be? Yes.
Yes.
You can repeat the subject. Actually, it's kind of ideal. You can say, for example, I thought I would be a doctor. Or you can say, she thought that she was going to be a doctor. Or you can mix and you can say, I thought that you were going. But it's correct if you use the same subject in both sentences, or if you use different subjects, it's also correct. All right. So it's possible to say, I thought I would be. All right. It's correct.
Okay, teacher, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so some of you finished. I'm going to check those ones first, and the rest can continue working, all right? Don't worry. So let's go with you first, Lourdes. Let's read your examples, please.
Okay, I thought they would end up married, but they split up last week after 8 years. And
Right.
the second one is she never imagined her brother would study in the USA. He used to be a lazy guy when he was younger.
Great. Those are great. Only one thing in terms of punctuation, instead of comma there, Lourdes, try to use semicolon or even period. All right, but the rest of it's perfect. Very good. You're using different subjects. They were great. You're following the structure, right? And that is perfect. I have no other observations there, Lourdes. Thank you. Let's go now with you, please, Melissa. Let's read your two examples, please.
Okay, the first one says he thinks he would get that scholarship by only being a good soccer player. And the last one is I know they would go. I think it's incorrect. I know they would go to a party as soon as the pandemic is over, but I don't think that.
Okay, so here, Melissa, actually your ideas are very good, but remember one thing that I mentioned. I showed the verbs in the base form, but actually you need to change that first verb into the past, because if not, it's not going to be future in the past, all right? If you want future in the past sentences, you need the first sentence in the past and the second with would. So in this one, they are not correcting anything, but if you say he thinks he would, it's not future in the past. It's like perhaps you're talking about a condition, but it's not past. So we need to change that to thoughts, all right? He thought he would get that scholarship by only being a good soccer player, right? But it didn't work that way. It's not like that, right? So it didn't work. In the second one, the same. If you change these to knew, I knew they would. Do you see the blue underline? It's gone. All right. So and this is going to change. So I knew they would go to a party as soon as the pandemic is over. Could be, but as this is future in the past, they want to say this exactly. Now, of course, now it doesn't make sense because the pandemic is still there. But because of the context, you're changing this idea to future in the past. So it means that all the things that you're going to mention, unless the context makes you say something different, it has to be in the past. All right. So he thought, I knew, and then past ideas with would. Because remember, here we're using would as the past of will. All right. Do you have any questions or comments about that, Melissa? Let me know, please.
No, it's okay, teacher.
Okay, thank you. Let's go now with you, Mariana. Let's read, please, your two examples.
Okay, the first is I thought I would have a restaurant, but my mom told me that it wasn't a good idea.
Great.
And the second one is I knew that you will be a good dentist, but your insecurity wins you over.
Okay, these are really interesting examples. They are great. The first one, very good. You thought that you would have a restaurant, right? But your mother convinced you not to do it. Great. And the second one, right? And you're using that. And actually, that's something I was going to mention. If you use that, it's even better because it's more formal. All right. So it's perfect, Mariana. I knew that you would be a good dentist. You knew it, but your insecurity, right, wins you over. In this case, using present works great. It seems to work great, but you can also use past. Mariana, you can say won you, all right, over, or like made you make mistakes, something like that. But in that case, as I'm telling you, it's working good. All right, it's working good. Thank you very much, Mariana. Whitney, let's read yours, please.
Okay, I thought Anna will be here next year. They know that the new phone will be an amazing product.
Okay, good. We're following that idea. Only one thing also, it's going to be in the second one. The first one we're following, right? I thought Anna would be here next year, right? That was a past expectation, right? But something that you thought for the future. But here, if you say something like they know that the new iPhone would be an amazing, it's still correct, all right? It's still correct. But if we use the first sentence like in present, it changes a little bit the idea of future in the past. The sentence is still correct with me, but it's not going to be considered as future in the past in the way that we are learning it, all right? The structure is going to be different. So it's better if you say that they knew that the new iPhone, right, or the new phone would be an amazing product. So that's something that they thought or they knew in the past. All right, good. Any questions about that, Whitney? Let me know, please.
No, teacher.
Okay, thank you. And Luciana, let's finish up with you, please.
Okay, the first one is she thought she will become a doctor after high school. And the
Good.
second is I knew he will cheat on my best friend Camila. And in the first one, I was not sure if I should use become or became because in like the explanation says that the verb needs to be in his base form. So
Yes,
I'm
it's
not
perfect.
sure.
The way you did it, it's perfect. Become base verb. Why? Because the rule says, Luciana, every time, okay, there's no exceptions. In English, in this case, there's no exceptions. 100% of the time, after any model like would, will, can, could, all right, always base form, all right, always base form, even if the meaning is in past, Luciana. For example, if you say, I could play the piano before, that is past, all right? But you don't say, I could play the piano before. No, you don't say that. Even if it's past, Luciana, after models, you are always going to use the base verb, become, cheat. Okay, so the sentences are great, Luciana, and they work very good over there. Do you have any extra questions? Let me know, please.
No, teacher, thank you.
Good, thank you. And that's it. I think that I was able to correct all of the, oh, Sharai, I have your sentences now. Let's read yours, please.
Okay, I hoped I would buy a car, but I didn't have enough money. She thought I wouldn't finish my bachelor degree, but I changed her mind.
Okay, good. That's great. You use hoped. It's possible. Remember, you can also use hoped or suspected. So good. I told you, right? It's more common, like 80-90% to use thought, but you can use one of those. It sounds like different, but it's still correct. So that's great. I hoped I would buy a car, right? But you couldn't do it because you didn't have the money to do it. She thought, right, I would finish my bachelor degree, but in this case, right, she thought I would finish my bachelor degree, but it would be I changed her mind, or it would be but she changed my mind. It's a little bit confusing in this case because you're saying, right, she thought that I would finish my bachelor degree, but I changed her. Okay, okay, I got it now, right? But you did it. You finished. So you proved her wrong, right? That's the idea over there, right, Sharai?
Yes, teacher. That's
Okay, perfect. Then it works great. I was thinking that she convinced you not to do it or to finish it, but now I got it. That's perfect. Thank you very much. So it seems to be great. The sentences were great. There's only one more thing that we're going to do in this lesson because it's a very short one, and we're going to go to the new one. Remember that the next class, which is Monday, is going to be the last group class that we have. And the last conversation is going to be on Tuesday. So we're about to finish. That's why we're going to be finishing everything. Let's help me, please, if you can, with me, examples number 1 and 2.
Okay, I always thought I will live in Paris, but I still live in Edinburgh. I thought
There-
I will be late.
Good. So sometimes you can use the second part, but I still live in Edinburgh. Or sometimes you can leave it like that. I thought that I would be late, right? But you're not late, but you don't need to mention that because it's obvious. So when it's obvious, you can omit that idea, all right? Number 3 and number 4, please. Let me see. Lourdes, let's read 3 and 4, please.
Okay, I knew you would win, and I was hoping it would happen. It would happen someday. I never did thought.
Good. It, right? It never did, though. Good. So you see here, with some verbs, you cannot use the past continuous, but with hope, it's very common to listen to expressions with I was hoping. All right, that's very common in English. I was hoping it would happen someday. It never did, though. When you say it never did, though, it's the same, all right, it's the same as saying, but it never did, okay? Or it's the same as, however, comma, it never did. But please remember, if you want to use though, it has to be at the end of the sentence. And that's actually what you're going to learn in this last part. Common expressions. This is the last thing. You're going to work 2 examples, all right? Look at these structures. You have future in the past, always at the beginning. After that, you have 3 options, okay? You have 3 options. You can use but something happened, but someone took me out of it, but someone convinced me not to do it, but I changed my mind, with a comma, all right? The second option, you can use however, but you don't use a comma. You use semicolon, all right? That's a semicolon. However, something happened. However, someone took me out of it, etc., etc. And the third option, you don't use but, you don't use however, but you use thought. But see, you don't use though at the beginning. You don't use it at the beginning. You use it at the end. And you need to use a period here. Okay, so I was going to be a doctor, period. Something happened, comma, though, period. All right, so you have 3 ways of using this. Let's practice. I know that you're going to do it, and it's going to be interesting because here you're going to learn punctuation rules, and you're going to learn 3 ways of talking about contrast, all right, or concession. Do you have any questions about this? Because what you're going to do is write 3 sentences, actually. 1 sentence with but, 1 sentence with however, and 1 sentence with though. But you have to use, of course, future in the past. And at the beginning, you can use was going to, were going to, or you can use I thought I would, I knew I would. Okay? 3 sentences, you can use was, were going to, would, and 3 sentences with these 3 kinds of contrasting ideas. All right? But, however, though. Do you have any questions? And you also need to use this phrase. Of course, you're not going to say always something happened. You can say, but the pandemic started, right? That something happened. But instead of someone took me out of it, you can say, but my parents took me out of it. But my friends took me out of it. But my girlfriend convinced me not to do it. And here, you're not going to change perhaps the subject, but she changed my mind. But they changed my mind. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know, please. If not, let's go to the file and let's write 3 sentences, all right? Future in the past plus 1 with but, 1 with however, and the last one with thought. Or, sorry, in this case, though. All right, so some of you are having some problems with the connection. So one more time, please, you need to write 3 sentences, okay? 3 sentences with the future in the past. It's what you do, what you did, right? I was going to have my restaurant. I thought I would have my restaurant, right? Any of those 3. But in the second part of that sentence, you have to use a second sentence, a second clause, one with but, right? For example, Mariana, you can say, I was going to have a restaurant, comma, but my mother convinced me not to do it. 1. Number 2, I was going to have my restaurant, semicolon, however, comma, my mother convinced me not to do it. And number 3, I was going to have my restaurant, period. My mother convinced me not to do it, comma, though, period. All right, so those are 3 different sentences. Now I repeated the same first sentence. If you feel comfortable, you can do it, but it's better if you change, all right, the first sentence, but that's the idea. All right, that was for the ones who couldn't hear the explanation. All right, just in case, I'm writing that on the chat as well. All right, and just in case you have some doubts, on my screen now you can see 3 examples, the ones that I read for you, right? The first example is with but, comma, but. The second example with semicolon, however, comma. And the third example, sorry, there's a mistake over there. The third example, it has to be only with period. And at the end, though. All right, that's the structure that I'm hoping to see in your examples. All right, future and the past plus but, future in the past plus however, future in the past plus though. All right, I'm going to start checking in 1 minute. Let's try to finish, please.
Teacher, I have one question.
Yes, tell me, Lucia.
We can use the verb of to replace the verb but, right? And if we use that, we use at the end of the sentence.
Yes, correct.
Always?
Though. Yeah, always. Why? Because though, actually, because if you said tough, it's going to be a different word, right? Tough is like an adjective that says, I'm tough, I'm strong, right? But this, in this case, it's going to be like though, only like though. And this though, yes, there's that rule, Luciana. Why? Because though can be used in two ways. One for contrast, like in this case, and the other one for concession. If you use it for concession, it's something different that we're going to learn afterwards, all right? It's something like, though I was feeling good, or sorry, it can be, though I was not feeling good, comma, I had to go to school, all right? In that way, the meaning is a little bit different. But if you want the meaning of though to be the same as but or however, you have to use it always at the end of that idea and with a comma before. All right? Good.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Great. I'm going to start checking some of your examples. Let's begin with you, please, Sharai. Let's read your 3 sentences.
Okay, teacher. I was going to travel to Spain, but the quarantine started. They were going to take a vacation. However, one member of the family got sick and she was going to work at the restaurant. She found a better option though.
Great. Very good, Sharai. That was a perfect job. I see no mistakes. I have no corrections. You use the perfect punctuation, comma, but, semicolon, however, comma, the sentence, period, and though at the end of the sentence before, right, or after the comma. That's perfect. Thank you, Sharai. That was great. Now, let's check your sentences, please, with me.
Okay, the student know his teacher will be late, but the bus arrived on time. My sister hoped the medical career will be a great idea. My mother convinced her not to do it, so Dimitri hoped his girlfriend would not want to study in a university of China. However, she talked him out of it. Sorry, I have to change the subject in the he from she, right?
Yeah, in that case, it's, let me see, Dimitri hoped his girlfriend would not want to study, right, in the University of China. However, he took him out of it. Actually, depends who you want to say that it's convincing to who. In this case, which person is convincing to what person, right? According to that, you can accommodate that in the way you want with me. Because actually, both can be valid if you have the correct context. All right, you can say, for example, that Dimitri convinced her, all right, to do it, or it can be the opposite. It depends what you want to transmit. Or perhaps you can say that the girlfriend convinced the guy, right, that it was a good idea or that it was not a good idea. But if you want to use yes, took someone out of something, it's usually the other person that is going to convince, right, that person not to do it. So yes, in that case, it will be good. And in terms of punctuation, just one little detail here, that it's going to be with a period and capital letter, and that will be it. That and your correction, and that's perfect with me. Do you have any extra questions or comments? Let me know, please.
No, teacher.
Okay, thank you. And let's finish this out. No, actually, we have more, but let's go with you, Luciana, please.
Okay, the first one is, I knew I will not enter to the university this year. However, I take course for my career, but I knew they were very difficult. I thought she will talk to me. I didn't get sad though. And the last one is, she knew I was sad because of my family, but she didn't care.
All right. Okay, let's check. In the second one, you used even more ideas, right? Let's see how it goes. But one thing, all right, for everything, remember, Luciana, that this is the topic of future in the past. It means that all your ideas need to be in past. So if you're saying new, remember that we are not going to use will. What is the past of will? We're using would, right? So let's start by number 5. So I thought she would talk to me. Good, comma. I didn't get a, but it says, no, I didn't get sad though. Yes, I thought she would talk to me, but she didn't do it, right? Usually the second idea, Luciana, it's going to be something that is opposite to this idea. So for example, you can say, I thought she would talk to me, right? She didn't do it, or yes, she didn't do it though. That's more or less the idea that you need to give here. All right, so you thought that she would do it, but she didn't do it. Okay, and that's inside. If you check the expressions that I showed you, it could be like something happened, or one is missing, someone did something or didn't do something, right? So in this case, you're going to say that more or less, you need to show something that is the opposite that you thought that was or that was not going to happen, right? So my advice here, it would be to give the contrary, all right? So it would be, she didn't do it though, all right? That more or less is going to be the idea. If you want to keep this, it's going to be a little bit weird, right? And remember, if you use though, Luciana, you need to use a period here, all right? Not a comma. So it's going to be period. I didn't get sad, comma, though. Now, grammatically speaking is correct, but perhaps the context is a little bit like not clear. Then, I knew I would not enter Remember, after enter, you don't enter to a place, you enter a place directly. So it's going to be without to. All right. I will not enter the university this year. The only thing here, before, however, you need to use two things, or semicolon or period. And after, however, you need to use comma. All right. Semicolon, however, comma. Remember that these are past ideas. So I knew I would not enter the university this year. However, I took courses for my career, right? So that's something that you did, even though you thought that you were not going to do it. And you're continuing with this. I took courses for my career, comma, but I knew they were very difficult. Okay, let's see the correction here. It's okay, just capital letter, and this with double F, all right? And that's it, all right? With that, that's going to be correct. Very good. She knew I was sad. In this case, remember, Luciana, this sentence is correct, but it's not future in the past. It's like she knew I was sad because of my family, but she didn't care, right? But if you want to change this, because this is not future in the past, this is only past, you can say, she knew I was going to be, all right? She knew I was going to be sad because of my family, comma, but she didn't care, and that's great. Do you have any questions about these corrections and observations, Luciana? Let me know, please.
No, teacher, I understand very well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Luciana. And there's only one more, and it's going to be with you, Mariana. Let's work with your examples, please.
Okay, teacher. The first is I was going to practice tennis, but my dad told me that it's bad for the knees. The second one is she was going to get married. However, her fiancé did bad things. And the last, they were going to hang out. Andrea never arrived. Thought.
Good. Great. Those are great sentences, Mariana. I have no observations in terms of the structure, just one little detail in terms of punctuation, all right? With however, you're going to use semicolon and however, comma, but that's the only thing. The rest of your ideas are perfect. Sometimes you're using present in the second idea, but it works great because of the context. So it's very good. Great. All right. No observations there, Mariana. Good. So that's it. All right. Thank you very much. You did it great, all of you. And that's the end, all right, of this topic, future and the past. Sometimes we spend more time, but I think, and I told you, right, it's better that I can check all those details. Do you have any questions about future and the past? Let me know. Remember, if you're going to see future in the past in your test, it's always going to be past, of course. So I thought, I knew. Don't say I will. You have to say I would, right? I would. Don't say I'm going to. You have to say I was going to. All right? That's it. Now let's work with the next presentation. I hope that we can cover a big part. I think we're going to be able to do it. I'm going to save that one. And the next one is going to be passive causative. All right? To start this topic, I have two questions at the beginning. The first question is going to be for you, please, Sharai. Sharai, what do you do when you require a service? For example, someone to paint your house. What do you usually do?
Well, I look for the service. I call the person who offer that service.
Okay, good. You look for that person. When you are in contact with that person, what can you tell to that person? What words can you say to that person to hire him or her?
Well, maybe I asked for the price, or I don't know.
It's okay. It's okay. We're just building the idea. It's okay. You can ask for the price, right? Perhaps the schedule, right? Can you come on Saturday, or are you free on, I don't know, Monday, right? Okay. Is I don't know, 3 p.m. okay for you? Yes, it works great. All right. So you like fix, right? You like fix a very specific and a professional, right, encounter. So you have that professional, and this is a question also for you, Sharai. How can you tell someone that someone else painted your house, for example? Imagine that I'm your friend. How can you tell me? First, no other requirements. How can you tell me that someone else painted your house for you? What sentence can you tell me?
Okay. I found a person who painted my house and
Good.
did a great job.
Good. That's a great sentence, and that's correct. That's correct. The last one, and this is something I'm going to try with all of you because this is what we're going to learn. How do you say the same idea, Sharai, but without mentioning the other person? It means without mentioning that other person did it, but that your house is painted. How can you say that? How can you say that you made someone paint your house, but without mentioning that other person? What do you think?
I don't know. I think I learned about that, but I don't remember now.
It's a little bit tricky. It's kind of a really interesting structure. It's not common. I mean, it's common, but it's not like something natural, right? It's very grammatical, but it's important to learn. But that's okay, Sharai. You're going to remember that idea with me. I'm going to try with your partners. What do you say with me? Once again, how can you say to your friend that someone else painted your house, but in the sentence, you don't have to mention that someone else did it? How can you express that idea? That is what we're going to learn, right? Passive causative. But how do you say that with me? What do you think?
Maybe I need help for my house, or I need someone to help me with something with my house.
Okay, and if that someone already helped you, that someone already painted your house, how can you tell that to your friend? How do you say to your friend, look, this person painted my house, but you don't have to say someone, you don't have to say this person, and you don't have to say anything related to that other person. How can you say that?
Maybe, do you know how I can resolve this in my house?
Okay, that's a very interesting approach, right? Do you know how can I do that for my house? It's a very interesting, but sometimes it's not enough, all right? There you need to use passive voice. And this is what we're going to use here, all right? Passive causative. To mention that someone did something for you, but you don't have to mention that person necessarily. And in some cases, it's the best thing to do. All right. Thank you very much, Whitney. We're going to solve this question right now, and it's going to be in this second part. Read this definition, please, Luciana. Help me with this definition.
Okay. We use a causative verb when we want to talk about something that someone else did for us or for another person. It means that the subject caused the action to happen, but didn't do it themselves. Maybe they paid or asked or persuade the other person to do it.
Good. Just that word persuaded, right? Or persuaded. Good. So this is passive causative. Now you're going to take a look at the examples, all right? You use passive causative, all right, or causative verbs when you want to mention that someone else did something for you. And if you want, you can mention that person. And if you want, you don't mention that person. But remember, if you use passive voice, most of the times in passive voices, you don't mention the agent. It means who did it. Because sometimes it's not important or it's like redundant, all right? That's why you avoid the agent and you only say the action. And that's what we're going to learn. All right. So once again, this is for you. Try to take the most important information. But now let me show you the examples. All right. You're copying, but let me go here. I'm going to go back later on. It says illustration. Help me out now with this idea, please. Mariana, if you can read points number 1 and number 2 with the examples, please.
Okay, one, if we say, I cleaned my house, this means I cleaned it myself. And the second one is, if I paid someone to clean it, of course I can say, a cleaner cleaned my house.
Thank you very much, Mariana. So these are the 2 ways that you know, right? Because these are active voices. I cleaned my house, it means that you did it. A cleaner cleaned my house, it means that someone else did it. But of course, you don't say that, right? You don't say a cleaner cleaned my house because it's obvious. So how can you avoid that? How can you omit the agent of that action? And that's why we're going to use the causative form. Let's read please number 3 and the example. Sharai, number 3 and the example, please.
Okay, another way is to use a causative construction. So I can also say, I had my house cleaned.
Good. So this is the answer to I was asking you. This is passive causative. This is how you say that someone else did something for you, but you don't mention that other person. When you say, I had my house cleaned, it means that you didn't clean it. It means that someone else cleaned your house. Okay? That is the idea here. You can have the same with other verbs. You can say, I had my house painted. It means that you didn't paint it, all right? You didn't paint your house. It means that someone else painted the house for you, all right? And that sentence is passive causative. It means that you didn't do it. It means that someone else did it. And if you read in the end, it says, in this sentence, the important thing is that the house is now clean. We don't focus on on who did the cleaning, right? But there is an option, look, and this is the option. You can say, I had my house cleaned by a cleaner. But of course, you don't need to say that. Sometimes you can mention the agent, right? When it's important, when it's surprising, when it's different. But if it's obvious, all right, and you don't need to mention, don't do it. But you can do it if you want by adding by. All right, but that's optional. Now let's take a look at some ideas related to that. And actually, we're going to learn the structure. The first structure is with have, all right, have. And you're going to help me out with this one, please. First, let me select what you're going to read with me. Let's read, please, the formula until that part.
Have plus object plus past participle, have something done. We usually have something done when we are talking about paying someone to do something for us. It's often used for service.
Thank you very much, Whitney. Exactly. So we usually use have for professional, all right, contact. It means that you paid someone to do something for you. And the complete formula is going to be this one. And you're going to help me out with the complete formula and the two examples, please, Luciana.
Okay. We
The form.
The form is object, have object, past participle. Examples: I had my car washed, and John will have his house painted.
Thank you very much, Luciana. So, what are these examples telling you? That you have to use have. That's the main verb. But you can use have in past, had, and you can use have in future, and you can use it in present, and you can use it in present continuous, in present perfect, in past perfect, all right? You can use have in any tense you want. After have, you need an object. Remember, object is grammar. Object can be a person, all right? Object can be a real object or can be a person. But you need an object and you need the past participle of a verb. Washed is past participle because it's wash, washed, washed. Paint, painted, painted. But be careful with irregular verbs, right? The irregular form is going to be, for example, I was asking you this. I don't know if you remember. I'm going to ask some of you. For example, I'm going to you, Mariana. Mariana, do you remember the past forms of see? What is the simple past for the past participle of the verb see?
I think that it's so.
Good. And there's one more. Do you remember the second one? One is saw. It's
See,
correct.
so, and seen.
Seen. Very good. That's great. So that is the verb that you need to use here, all right? The past participle, the third verb. Seen, given, all right? Read. Whatever past participle verb that you know that is related to an action has to be here. And it's in yellow, right? So once again, subject plus have plus an object plus washed. It means the verb in the past participle. So in these two sentences, the meaning is that I didn't wash my car. Someone else did it. All right, in the past. And in the future, it means that John will not paint his house. It means that someone will paint the house for him. All right, that's the meaning of these two sentences. Someone else is going to do that job for them. Mariana, let me know, what's your question?
Sorry, teacher, in the second sentence is for future.
Correct, for future. It means that John is going to call a professional that is going to paint the house for him. And to avoid saying all that information, Mariana, for not to say, John will call a painter to paint his house. No, you can simply say, John will have his house painted. And it means, okay, that someone else in the future is going to paint the house for John. All right, but yes, it's future, Mariana. You can use have and these ideas for past, for present, and for future. But it's, again, someone else is doing that for you, someone else did it for you, or someone else will do it for you. All right, that's the idea. But always, also that's important, the verb, the other action in the past participle. All right. Mariana, if you have more questions, let me know.
Yes, teacher. I don't understand very well. If I want to say it in present, I can say I have my car washed.
Yes, actually, you have two options in present, right, Mariana? So it depends on the context. Look, in present, you can say this. Let me delete this. In present, you can say, if it's present simple, Mariana, it's going to be a routine. So you can say, I always have my house painted, all right? It means that every time, right, someone else paints your house, present. Also, you can use the present continuous, and you can say, right now, right now, sorry, comma, I'm having, right, my house, sorry, painted, all right? It means that right now, someone else is painting the house for you. So this is present, simple present, and this is present, but present continuous. So you can use any tense you want, Mariana. Present simple, present continuous, simple past, past continuous, simple future, future would be going to present perfect continuous, past perfect, models, all right? You can use any tense, Mariana. The only thing you have to use is always have, always an object, and always the action in the past participle. Here, have, the object, and the action in the past participle. Do you understand that? Do you have any more questions about that, Mariana? Let me know, please.
No, teacher, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. But remember, whenever you say this, it means that you are not doing it, all right? It means that someone else is doing this for you, all right? Now, we're going to practice writing this on Monday, but right now, to finish the class, I want you to tell me an example, but speaking, all right? Speaking. You have 4 examples here, right? I have my car washed. John will have his house painted. I always have my house painted. Right now, I'm having my house painted. Let's try with you. And let's try to start with you, please, Sharahi. Can you try to give me only one example using this structure? Remember that when you are using have, Sharahi, you're talking about paying someone to do something, right? And that's implicit. All right? You're making someone do something for you because you are paying that person. So what do you say?
Okay, she has her clothes washed.
Good, good. And you can add a little bit context because that's correct. And that's simple present, right? What frequency adverb or what time reference can you add to make that sentence even better? Because if it's simple present, it has to be like a routine. What can you add there? One time expression, please, Sharai. It can be a frequency adverb or a time expression.
She sometimes has her clothes washed.
Good, that's perfect. She sometimes has her clothes washed, right? Perfect, thank you, Sharai. Let's go with you, Mariana. Let's try only one sentence.
Okay, she had her new house designed.
Good, very good. She had her new house designed. It means that someone else designed the house for her, right? Very good. Luciana, what do you say? Let's try with you. Only one example, please.
Okay, right now I'm letting my dogs at the veterinary.
Okay, but remember here that that's correct, but here you have to use have.
Okay.
But
Right,
go ahead.
right now I'm having my first tattoo painted.
All right. Painted is not going to be like the thing. You can say something like, perhaps I had my first tattoo. You can use perhaps tattooed as a verb, but it's going to be redundant. All right. But try to look for a specific thing that someone else did for you. For example, even you can use your pets if you want here. You can say something like this, Luciana. You can say, I'm having my dogs vaccinated. It means that, for example, your veterinarian, Luciana, is going to vaccinate your dogs. All right. Right now, I'm having my dogs vaccinated. In that way, that is the idea. With the tattoo, for example, your tattoo was not good. All right. Your tattoo was like incorrect, let's say. So you can say, right now, I'm having my tattoo fixed, right, by a professional. That's also something that you can say. Do you have any questions?
What word do you use in the sentence of the tattoo? I was not able to. Or
yes,
maybe
I'm
you
having
in the chat.
Yes, I'm having my tattoo fixed. Like when you fix a car, when you fix something, that fix. All right, because I'm saying in this case, this is just all right, something that I'm making up. Sorry, this is not for everybody. All right, just for this case, because I told you, imagine that your tattoo is not good, it's not correct, right? So you can say, I'm having my tattoo fixed. All right, just in that case. Great. Now let's go with you. Tell me, Luciana.
No. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right. I know that we are kind of. Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. Whitney, please. One example. Only one example with have and this idea.
Okay, I will have my books printed.
Right. I will have my books printed. Right. Someone else will print the books for you. And finally, Melissa, to finish, only one sentence using this structure, please.
Okay. Daniela will have her laptop cleaned.
Yeah, it's correct. Daniela will have her laptop cleaned, fixed, repaired, fried, renewed. You can use any action over there as long as it is in past participle. That was great, Melissa. Let's finish here. We're going to practice. If you have questions, all right, we're going to solve those questions on Monday, because on Monday we're going to continue checking that, let's say, topic. But right now, let's finish there. I think you did it great. Please, as always, complete the poll. And that's going to be it for today's class. Just a quick reminder, it's loading, all right? The poll is loading. Remember that you have until Monday at 11:59 p.m. to complete the assignments of the 4 units. And the final test is going to be assigned on Monday, all right? And you're going to have Monday and Tuesday noon to complete that assignment. If you have any questions related to that, please let me know. If not, let's complete the poll. And that's going to be it, all right? Have a great night, have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.
Thank you, teacher. Bye. Bye-bye, teacher.
You're welcome.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye. Have a great weekend too. Thank you very much.
See you Monday.
Bye-bye. See you Monday.
Bye, teacher. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Mariana. See you.